What's up, guys? How's it going? Obviously, I'm here in Giza, which is basically Cairo, at the wonderful, magnificent pyramids. And I've been here a couple of days already, and I honestly cannot take my eyes off them. Like, I constantly find myself just stopping and staring at them. I got a pretty nice view from this Airbnb rooftop, don't I? But when I stare at them, I can't help but start to think about, like, the amount of willpower and teamwork and vision and consistency over time to create something like that. But it's now lasted over 4,000 years. I mean, way before BC, right? And I saw this crazy stat the other day that these pyramids, I think they were built in like 20 to 30 years, which means that every 2 or 3 minutes they laid one of those big blocks on there. I mean, every 2 or 3 minutes consistently over time to create something like that. And those blocks are huge, as you know, like the size of a small car. But it's really got me thinking about, how many of us start projects and end up quitting projects before we end up actually finishing the project. And that used to be a big trend in my life, especially when I look back at my, as a teenager and in my 20s. I would create these big, great ideas in my head that sound like pretty good ideas, but a lot of them I never would put the pen to paper and to get started on them. Or other ones I would start the project but just abandon them for kind of no reason. Or like the first time that something gets hard, you say, just take the easy route. And there's a lot of distractions in this world nowadays. Back in my day, it was Call of Duty. You'd smoke some pot and then play some Call of Duty, and boy, you could spend a whole day doing that, playing Grand Theft Auto. And I know GTA 6 is coming out next year. And by the way, about 6 years ago, I had quit playing video games. And about 6 years ago, I thought, you know what, I should really go out and get an Xbox or something. That could really make my life a lot better, right? So I went out and bought an Xbox. I'm going to get back into Call of Duty and Halo. And I just couldn't get into it anymore because once you have some purpose in your life, direction to go in with some goals, things like that, the distractions, the noise just become unappealing, like at a subconscious mind level. Like I just couldn't get into it even though I tried. But when you think about creating big projects, and I've already talked about this in other videos, but the real way to do it is you break up a big project into smaller projects, bite-sized chunks, daily chunks, and then just start doing that consistently over time. And that's how you create a big project like that, is just consistency over time with vision. That was a vision in someone's mind before the first foundation was ever laid on it, right? And then they held that vision over time. And that's really how you accomplish big things in life. And I really say that to help people because my 20s sucked, man. But here I am in my 30s, at 36, and I have started to live my best life. But to give you hope, there's a lot of projects that I started and I never got any momentum with. I abandoned them. Some projects were false starts. You start doing something for a while, and all of a sudden something comes up. And one example is at one point I had what I think was the largest Joe Rogan podcast fan site in the world. And I wrote all these articles about, Joe Rogan's diet plan, the top 10 podcasts about fitness. And they were well-written articles. I was making good money on it, getting good traffic, well over 50,000 page views a year. And I was making money because in each one of those articles, I had affiliate links going out to products like, Onnit, Alpha Brain, and, Amazon affiliate links. And one day Google just decided to update how it ranks websites, and it basically killed traffic across the internet. And they kind of had to because AI, people are really taking advantage of AI. Why wouldn't you, right? But writing cheap, crappy articles, but it flooded the internet with all these articles. And Google just said, you know what, that's it. We're done with all these kind of fan site, low quality articles. Mine were quality, right? But I got lost in the shuffle, and part of the attitude too was like, you talk about, you write an article about Joe Rogan's diet, or do I know Joe Rogan? No, I don't. Am I in Joe Rogan's kitchen? No, I'm not. So why the hell will we rank your article highly on that? So that project anyways had a lot of momentum. I was starting to make good money on that, like enough to almost live overseas just on that one fan website and it just killed the traffic. So the point is, like, this whole process, man, like, you're unlikely to strike gold on your first project. The way we accomplish like these big goals, man, is you get into something and you try to do something, and if it doesn't work, you say, okay, and I'll try again. And then if that doesn't work, then what do? Do you give up or do you just try again? So you get in the process of each time you try something, and if it fails, you ditch the word failure and you realize that you learned a whole bunch of skills throughout the process. So that your next attempt is actually a lot better, smarter, more strategic, and usually a lot quicker. So that website that I just told you about that I built, next time I built a website, I did it in like a tenth of the time. Like I already knew how to, host it, Bluehost, and do the WordPress, and how to use Canva to set up thumbnails, and I built my writing skills. So that second website that I built was like, boom, it was like easy peasy, right? So you're not actually failing, you're getting better and smarter on each attempt. And that's why, I do suggest, man, yeah, create a YouTube channel or a blog and, try to sell some digital products. And in the process of doing that, you'll actually get the skills to maybe freelance, or like if you create a website and learn how to video edit and create thumbnails and catchy titles, and you learn to set up the website, all those skills in that whole process, you could make money off just freelancing and doing that for other people as side work on websites like Upwork and Fiverr. It reminds me, if you're brand new to this channel, I'm like aspire to help other other people get on the path of international travel and living abroad. Things like quitting the 9-to-5, finding financial freedom online. Also, I think dating is probably the number one reason why most guys want to go and travel, live overseas. The dating is probably the number one reason, along with the cost of living and a healthier lifestyle that I found overseas, which really boils down to the process of prioritizing long-term growth, long-term development over short-term gratification. That's probably the number one key with accomplishing anything in life. I mean, if you're always taking the quick, easy route out, a lot of times that means giving up the first time something gets hard. But under the lens of like traveling and living overseas, obviously you have to figure out how to make a living abroad. And that's why I think most of the passport bros now, if you see them, all they are is short-term vacation guys, because they can't get over that it's not a little hump, it's a big hump of prioritizing long-term growth, long-term sustainability of living overseas. Instead, they just take that quick and easy vacation, and they'll go down to like a Medellin, Colombia, or Dominican Republic or Rio, and they blow their entire net worth in about 5 days, and then they're back to work on Monday, and then they start that 6-month cycle over again, working, saving, some money, playing Call of Duty on the side until they have $5,000 again, and they run down to Medellin. And that's why a lot of the passport bros, you actually never even see them out in Asia. Why? Because if you're coming from the United States, you can't just run over to Asia for a week, right? You pretty much need 3 weeks minimum. You're dealing with like tremendous jet lag, more expensive flights. Very, very few North American passport bros in Asia, because they can't make the trip. They can't afford the trip, and they take the time off from work. So if you can be one of those guys that starts to take a pause, maybe don't take that 6-month cycle, maybe spend 18 months. Nobody wants to hear that, do they? Maybe spend 1 year saving up money while at the same time cutting your expenses. Go live with mom, get some roommates, and then start making YouTube videos or something that could be a project for you while you go and take more long-term trips, right? So spend the year, don't take any trips, and then go take a 3-month trip. That would be badass. And then since you've already been working on something, when you go take that 3-month trip, it's not all candy and roses, right? You can take, you have hours to kill sometimes, you got something to work on. Something you might even be able to get paid on. Another really, really cool thing about like YouTube, or if you want to niche it down into something, it gives you instant feedback. So literally you could pick up your phone and you could record a video about a hobby or an interest of yours and publish on YouTube within the next hour, and probably start getting views. By the next day you'll have a few views, maybe even a few subscribers, because like the YouTube algorithm, its entire job is to serve that video to people that it might be interested in. So I like tennis. So if I could create a video tomorrow, I could create a video right now saying, 10 reasons I like tennis. And the algorithm will take that and try to give it to people that also like tennis. So you get instant feedback. So it's really not as hard as you think. I'm trying to, shatter your preconceived notions about how hard this is. It's not that hard. It does require a long-term attitude, long-term commitment to self-growth over short-term gratification. All right, well guys, that's enough for this video, but please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. And I hope to see you out on the road soon. Come out to Cairo and see the pyramids, bro.
Oh yeah.